Agriculture is hard row to hoe and it costs extra efforts. Despite knowing that, people are still following it as it has multiple pros. Moreover, nobody cares that what will be the after effects. Water is a critical input for agricultural production and plays an important role in food security. Irrigated agriculture represents 20% of the total cultivated land and contributes 40% of the total food produced worldwide. Irrigated agriculture is, on average, at least twice as productive per unit of land as rainfed agriculture, thereby allowing for more production intensification and crop diversification. Agricultural is comprised of 1. Preparation fields. 2. Industries. 3. Cattles. 4. Irrigation. 5. Power supply. 6. Transportation. 7. Space. 8. Investment for seeds, fertilizers, etc. 9. Labor. 10. Markets. Crops such as corn, soya beans, and cotton, its production leads to heat and hence the temperature rises. As the temperature rises, its yield decreases. With this rise in temperature, not only crops are affected but livestock is also badly affected. The heat will result in fewer animal reproduction. Then less milk will be obtained. Thus longer time will be taken for the milk and other substances to reach the market. Moreover, in heat surroundings, pests are more likely to accommodate animals' bodies, and that's why it results in more diseases. The same goes for crops. More insects start to feed on crops in the heated atmosphere and result in poor damaged yield. Grow crops, space is required, and that's why farmers and landowners transfer to different places. It then results in less space to build anything like homes, buildings, etc. When buildings and malls will be removed because of agriculture, our economy, which can be increased from these sources, will also decrease, and thus there will be loss. Moreover, once agricultural land is used, we cannot grow crops repeatedly, as the fertility is taken by crops. Because of this, farmers cut down natural vegetation with houses and buildings, and thus they grow crops on that soil. Agriculture production requires fresh water. In Pakistan, nearly 44 million people have no access to fresh water. Water scarcity increases as agriculture production increases. Agriculture is the largest consumer of water, requiring 100 times more water than we use for personal needs. Up to 70% of river and ground water goes into agriculture fields. 10% is used in domestic applications and 20% is used in the industry. People in rural areas have to face these kinds of difficulties. As they don't have access to fresh water, they travel miles to obtain fresh water from places. these poor people become far from fresh water, then they start to drink contaminated water. Would we drink this type of water? Food safety refers to handling, preparing and storing food in a way to best reduce the risk of individuals becoming sick from foodborne illnesses. Food safety is a global concern that covers a variety of different areas of everyday life. Agriculture and ASCAP can affect a range of health issues including undernutrition, chronic diseases, infectious diseases, food safety, and environmental and occupational health. Food becomes contaminated when it is not fully secured. Bees and other insects consume them. And like this, the crops become less productive. Ill health in the farming community can, in turn, reduce agricultural productivity and the ability to develop and deploy appropriate ASCAP. Ill health can result from undernutrition, as well as overnutrition. Despite increased
agriculture can have many impacts on the environment. One of the major impacts is the conversion of wildland ecosystems to agriculture. Right now, agriculture represents about 1/5 of the terrestrial landscape. Basically, we've converted a lot of wildland systems for food production. So this has impacts on our availability of water, availability of fuel wood and timber, and habitat for global biodiversity, which is currently dwindling rapidly. Farmers have many options for reducing their impact on the environment. Some of these can be how they manage their production fields or areas around their production fields. Areas around the production fields can actually provide quite a bit of habitat for biodiversity. Some examples of what farmers can do in their production fields is to manage for soil. Improving soil quality is a major way farmers can improve their environmental impact. An example of what they might do is put in a cover crop during the winter to prevent erosion, reduce runoff, and that cover crop in turn can be plowed back into the soil in the springtime, increase organic matter, which in itself has multiple environmental benefits and long-term productivity benefits as well.
Sustainable food in agriculture is something that's one of the most important issues for food security, for nutrition, for improving livelihoods. We cannot keep the level of natural resource degradation that we have now, so this is unsustainable. We need actually to look at more adaptation and resilience to climate change, and also we need to increase the production, but also we need to consider the enhancement and the protection of the natural resources, basically the ecosystem services and biodiversity. So a good governance is essential to change the policies at the country level, to change the way that the ministries work together, the way that we can better integrate, for instance, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Natural Resources, sometimes Environment, Forestry, and so on. The most important now, we need to link sustainable food in agriculture to the new Sustainable Development Goals. It's a much broader approach, and it's going to be a huge challenge for the countries to implement, and that's why FAO has a very important role to play in that implementation. I think it's possible, but we need to start now. We can no longer cope with the model that we have and the approaches that we are using these days. So we need to look ahead and work in a more strategic way.
Aquaponics is a self-watering closed loop that uses fish efficient in a complementing recirculating environment at an accelerated rate. Aquaponics is putting fish to work. It just so happens that the work those fish do, eating and producing waste, is the perfect fertilizer for growing plants. 1. Environmentally responsible with low water usage and low power usage. 2. The primary inputs to the system are fish food and water. 3. Little to no chemical usage. 4. Many of the plants that thrive in aquaponic growing are very easy to grow. 5. Low susceptibility to pests and diseases. Hydroponics is a type of horticulture and a subset of hydroculture, which is a method of growing plants, usual crops, without soil, by using a mineral nutrient solution in an aqueous solvent. 1. Saves space. Plants grown in soil need to spread their roots in order to find water and all the nutrients they need to survive. 2. Water conservation, uses less water. 3. Fewer chemicals, hydroponics system is highly controlled. 4. Faster growth, it is very effective as the crops receive an ideal amount of nutrients. 5. Grow indoors. 6. Healthier plants don't have to spread their roots out in search of nutrients, so they get to spend more energy on growing. Now at the end of the video, I would like to say that in order to make our crops yield productive, if we want our country to build its economy by maintaining food security, if we want to overcome water shortages, and if we want our temperature to be cordial, then we have to bring a corporate change. Our governments should innovate environment-friendly ways of agriculture. Obviously, poor developing countries can't afford these ways, so we should donate them to have a strong future. As small indications have a huge influence, we have to be together to have sustainable agriculture and other positive drives.